all the days of my life. Laura leaned into her friend and asked, "Doesn't it bother you when you see him kissing other women?" The two women watched, spellbound and fascinated, as Jason kissed Susie again, lightly and then with great passion and desire. "The Landerer!" Laura hissed in Michelle's ear as the two women sat and watched the Bacchanalian scene play out right before them in real life, bright as day detail. Michelle's head swiveled to the left, her left eyebrow raised to a pitched height. "What?" she whispered back. "Kissing her like that?" Laura hissed. "Doesn't that bother you?" Michelle's head retreated 3 inches and her brow furrowed. "No," she replied quietly, the word elongated. "It's a play. They're just acting." "Oh, sure, just acting. That's what Tim told me, right up to the point where he left me for Jenny. Just acting my ass," she said loudly enough to warrant looks of disgusted displeasure from the man directly to her left. "It's in the script," Michelle said, pointing her right index finger to the sky and placing it over her pursed lips, shaking her head minutely 3 times and shushing her friend. "Worry about Jason? How totally ridiculous," she thought, as she sat back and watched the play unfold in front of her second row, center aisle seat. Her husband was wonderful and completely trustworthy. The play progressed, and the heat between Susie's and Jason's characters seemed to raise the temperature in the theater by at least 3 degrees. Michelle watched the play, but she also stole glances at the women in the audience. She had never noticed the wet-lipped, tongue-tip protruding looks of lust and desire directed at her husband before. "I mean, it's Jason," she thought. "Good old down-to-earth, straight and narrow Jason. Of course I can trust him." That's what she told herself, but Laura's comment had somehow managed to get under her skin, and now the little green bug was burrowing fast and deep, heading for her vein before pumping to her heart. Ridiculous, she thought again, this time admonishing herself for allowing unmerited dispersion to be cast upon her husband, her best friend, and a man who had proven himself gallant and trustworthy to have any impact on her. At intermission, the ladies made their way up the center aisle and into the theater's lobby. Michelle headed to the concession stand, but Laura reached out, gently touched her shoulder, and said wide-mouthed but sotto voce, "I'm going to the ladies' room." The hubbub from the 1,000 theater attendees made hearing very difficult, but Michelle, reading both Laura's lips and her body language, nodded, raised her eyebrows and hand to her mouth, and pivoted her wrist back and forth twice. Laura smiled widely and nodded back twice, mouthing the word "white." The women separated, with Laura joining the queue outside the women's room and Michelle queuing in the concessions line. From her place in line, Michelle saw Jenny and Tim turn away from the concession stand, Jen with a glass of wine and Tim with a beer. Turning, the couple both spied Michelle at the same instant and made their way to her. "Oh, Michelle," Jen said as she approached, the women performing a 2-cheeked air kiss. "What a lovely dress. I love the polka dots. How are you?" "Fine, fine. It's so good to see you." "Tim," she added, her face smiling warmly as her eyes remained cold. "Michelle," Tim replied, kissing her cheek. "Jason and Susie are one hot number, aren't they?" Michelle's head tilted to the side as she nodded once. "That's exactly what Laura said. She's just in the restroom. Should be out in a minute," Michelle added, her right cheek and eyebrow raised. "Oh, is she?" Tim asked, his eyes glancing to Jen. "Well, be sure to say hi to her, won't you?" "Oh, look," Tim added, nodding his head in the direction of the lobby's fountain. "There's Keith and his wife. We should go say hello," he said, gently taking Jen's elbow and walking away from Michelle as he stole a furtive glance over his shoulder. "Yes, slink away, Tim. Slink away before Laura comes back," Michelle said under her breath. "Let's keep our drama in the theater, shall we?" At the counter, Michelle's head shot back in wonder. "Robbie," she declared, "you're the last person I expected to see here, at least in the front of house. I thought you'd have a pivotal role in our hothouse romance." "Hey, Michelle. Great to see you. No, couldn't even land a role as a servant in this one. And speaking of servants, how may I serve you?" Michelle's smile radiated from crown to soul as she replied, "2 white wines, please. Something not too sweet?" "Sure, sweetie. You're sweet enough," he said as he long poured the wine. "Are you 2 fisty now, or are you here with someone?" "No, I'm practically on the wagon. I'm here with Laura." Robbie's head jerked back slightly as he rang up the drinks. He hesitated and then said, "I just saw Tim." "Yes, with Jenny. We said hi. Anyway, so good to see you. You too, Michelle. And your man Jason is white hot in the show." Yes, he is. Thanks, she added, turning from the bar and scanning the lobby for Lara. Lara was not visible, but from a distance she caught the eyes of Dan Mullins and Dan Bain, both men scanning the lobby for familiar faces. She finger-waved and began to make her way over to say hello when Lara and Sean approached. Look what the cat dragged in, Lara said, taking the offered wine from Michelle. Does that make me the cat's meow? Sean rat-a-tatting a beat with air drumsticks. Always, Michelle replied, offering her cheek to Sean. And speaking of meows, wow, Susie and Jason are H.O.T. A little too hot, don't you think? Lara asked. Sean looked at her with eyebrows scrunched and interrogative as the lobby lights flickered. Anyway, great seeing you, he said. I got to get back to my date. Well, say hi for us, Michelle said as she and Lara made their way out of the lobby. Act 2 was even hotter than Act 1, and Lara's poisoning worked its way through her. By the time the show ended to thunderous standing applause, Michelle was convinced Jason and Susie were having an affair. Oh, just wait, Jason Hot Lips Philanderer. Ever hear of a woman scorned? Michelle said goodnight to Lara and waited in the lobby for her husband to emerge. Acting was always sweaty work for him, and showering after a show a ritual ablution. Michelle waited, and as she waited, her ire rose. How dare she thought. How dare he discard me like last night's leftovers? Oh, Jason, you have no idea who you're dealing with. The lobby was all but empty as Jason emerged. He saw Michelle and his entire being erupted into joy. The high he had felt from a standing ovation-worthy performance, a complete nothing compared to the soul-deep elation the mere sight of his wife brought to him. Hey, sorry to make you wait. How'd you like it? He asked. Mesmerizing, Michelle answered. Any doubt about her husband and his commitment to her swept away. Anybody ever tell you you're one hell of an actor? Oh, shucks, he said with a wink. I just thought of you as I kissed her. No acting required.